to comply with all the requests you made at your last meeting.
Okay, we will first, we'll open it up to the public to see if they have any comments on this issue. Anybody from the public would like to address us on this?
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. My name is Jason Sweat, Director of the Santa Cruz Veterans Alliance. I'm asking the Board to reconsider adding us to the Phase 1. We're kind of in a hard spot with MRSA coming in effect next year, and if we don't have the ability to obtain a dispensary license here in the county, we will not be able to apply for the state license, and therefore we would not be able to service our veterans. Right now we have 234 veterans that we service here, and we meet, twice a month, and these veterans receive free medicine because they are disabled, low income, and they're looking for an alternative to the pharmaceutical medicine that the VA prescribes. So I ask for you to reconsider adding us to the Phase 1, and look forward to seeing you guys in the future.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to address us on that?
Hello, I'm Albert Brett, and I'm from Idaho. I've been out here since October, and I'm a Vietnam veteran who is a survivor of pancreatic cancer. And I'm also am now in oncology over at Stanford. But I'm also a disabled American veteran with post-traumatic stress, quite severe. It's come out since my cancer, more severely. I no longer take the VA pharmaceuticals because I've been fighting my cancer and winning, by the way, by using Rick Simpson oil, which is very concentrated. It's being manufactured similarly here by Wham over on the Hill. And the Veterans Alliance has the abilities to do it as well. I need medicine. I take about 500 milligrams a day. It fights my post-traumatic stress, but it's keeping me from the resurgence of Steve Jobs' tumor. It's a very pernicious, kills almost everybody that gets it. And they can't find it in me anymore, but they took it out of me. So, and I continue to take prophylactically cannabis. I probably will do it for the rest of my life. I didn't take cannabis until 2014. Well, that's not true. I smoked in the 70s. Quite heavily, but I hadn't since 1982. And I'm a sober alcoholic. I'm a businessman, and put my mother in a nursing home and moved out here so I could fight my cancer. These men are going to help me do it until the VA pays for it. But in the meantime, I'm going to continue the fight, and I really would appreciate you licensing these gentlemen to take care of us because it's the road back. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to address us?
There is a line, sir, if you want to wait for the other speakers.
Yeah.
I'll be very brief. Yeah, I'm Colonel Terry Maxwell, and I care about veterans being one. I also care about smart, wise public policy. And as Stephen Brill's book points out, the experience of Colorado with legalizing marijuana as a public policy issue, if you guys could exercise wisdom and be well informed, Santa Cruz County would set the example of recognizing that cannabis should be prescribed by a doctor or a naturopath, authorized to do so, and through pharmacies, and not through helter-skelter on every corner if they could get it, but all over our community, people hustling medical marijuana that we know is going to end up with school children using it. That's the case in SoCal, where you've approved a clinic about 140 yards from where the high school and junior high school students get their lunch off campus. Coming back to public policy issues, Santa Cruz County and this board, if you had wisdom and insight and true justice about the long-term impacts of this on our culture, you'd suggest that you revoke authorizing cannabis sale by anybody but a licensed pharmacist, prescribed by a health professional. That would make it available to service everybody that needs it, including all the veterans. again, Stephen Brill's book points out Colorado's going to regret what they've got going in a larger way. Why can't you guys set an informed example of true wisdom and restrict this through pharmacies?
Good morning. My name is Shepard Kalantari Johnson, and I'm a member of Community Prevention Partners, a Drug and Alcohol Prevention Coalition. First, I want to mention that CPP has had the opportunity to work with a lot of the local dispensaries, and they've really shown exemplary efforts to try to safeguard against access to youth. This ordinance, I think, strengthens our work to provide access to patients as well as decrease access to youth. There is a big gap that CPP sees, and that is that there are no setbacks, unless I didn't see it. I don't see setbacks for libraries and parks, and that's where youth congregate. I know that we're considering this in the cultivation proposal, and I would ask that the board and staff consider amending it to include setbacks for schools, for parks and libraries. Schools are in there. The other thing I wanted to say as an individual, not a CPP member, is that I've had the opportunity to meet with members of the Veterans Alliance and to visit their site and to ask them about their business practices. And as a public health advocate, I see that they have a lot of strengths, including security plans and tracking their plants in safeguarding against access to youth. Thank you.
Hello, board. My name is Jason Cadillac. I'm a 100% disabled veteran. I'm a resident in Santa Cruz County. I'm a voter. I'd like to be a taxpayer someday if I can afford to purchase a home. This Santa Cruz Veterans Alliance is a program like nothing available probably in the world. It's the only opportunity for veterans to have a choice, and it's a choice here in Santa Cruz, and it's a good choice. You know, the one thing I love about Santa Cruz is there's lots of compassion here. Have compassion, you know, for a group of veterans, and I mean, they have doctors from the VA coming down here treating veterans that would never step foot in Palo Alto, because the PTSD is something that just, it affects us like right now. I'm nervous. I shouldn't be. You know, I'm just trying to tell everybody, like, this program is, you know, do a little bit of research in it, see what these guys are offering. It's like, it's the most comfortable feeling for a vet to not feel pressurized. I spoke with a lady at the last meeting, and she said her husband didn't leave the house for 2 years. This is the only, you know, the reason he came out, and you know what I mean? And there's no, even as a group of people, like, everybody's just helpful. Everybody just like continues to want to help people grow, and it's just the one thing. It's just the right thing to do. So you know, saying that, I just hope you take consideration with this. And like I said, if you know, as they always say, do your research, and you'll see that this is definitely something that Santa Cruz needs. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, you can come on up and get in line, if you would. Hurry this along.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. My name is Benjamin Kross. I'm a disabled combat veteran in the United States Marine Corps. After separating from active duty in 2013, I moved to California specifically to treat my wounds that I had suffered from during my deployment with cannabis, as opposed to the harmful pharmaceuticals that the VA had prescribed me and been so detrimental to me. When I found SCVA in 2014, it was nothing short of a blessing. If you're not aware, over 1.5 million veterans live at least $10,000 below the poverty line here in California alone. And while cannabis has proved to heal both my body and my spirit, it's still the most expensive crop to date in the world. SCVA has not only made it easier for veterans to handle their own personal financial burdens through their Veteran Compassion Program, but horticulture therapy has offered and unsurpassed in this area. Knowing and working with a plant that will someday be the very medicine that one ingests gives you a certain connection and freedom of choice. Now, please understand, I'm not talking about a college dropout who wants to grow pot with an investor. I'm talking about American patriots wishing to heal their wounds that they've received in lands that weren't visited by the 99%. We've made that sacrifice then so that we could gather today to discuss if SCVA has earned the privilege to come home and try their own hand at American capitalism and still donate untold amounts of medicine to your county's veterans. To disallow that to these men and women, but remain to allow back alley dispensaries and unprofessional owners to make millions on unethical and immoral practices is an injustice. I'm so very confident this board will address post haste. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Sir.
Board members, my name is Thomas Evans. I'm a resident here in Santa Cruz County. I'm also a veteran. I served as an infantryman for 6 years in the Army, deploying both to Iraq and Afghanistan. While on a foot patrol in southern Afghanistan on my second deployment, I was wounded by an improvised explosive device. I suffered a severe traumatic brain injury, was peppered with shrapnel, and suffered multiple fractures in my nose and my skull. The Army and then the VA, once I was medically retired, were quick to prescribe me opiates for the pain and other medications to deal with my TBI and my PTSD. These prescriptions left me feeling numb and withdrawn from society, friends, and family, only masking my injuries instead of treating them. I decided to give medical cannabis a try when I found out about the Santa Cruz Veterans Alliance in 2014. Since then, I have been prescription-free and feeling much better than I was before. Medical cannabis has helped me tremendously and has allowed me to live a much better life. Many of those who I served in combat with have also found similar success with medical cannabis. As you may know, the recent Veterans Affairs budget bill included legislation that was passed by the House, which would have allowed VA doctors to prescribe medical marijuana in states in which it is legal, such as California. This provision was removed in the middle of the night, and the bill passed through the Senate without it. Vets, now more than ever, will need help accessing affordable medical marijuana. The Santa Cruz Veterans Alliance is the solution to this issue. By allowing SCVA to open a dispensary in town, you'd be helping hundreds of veterans gain access to medical cannabis. It would also allow for the expansion of our Compassion program, which currently provides free medical cannabis for hundreds of veterans in the county. Please help us continue to support our veterans in need and provide them with medicine they so desperately need. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Board. I'd just like to thank you for your time and listen to us. My name is Jake Scallon. I'm a United States Air Force security policeman. I was retired from active duty in 2011 from my injuries sustained in Iraq. When I first came home, I struggled greatly in my transition from active duty military to veteran. I struggled with day-to-day life, finding a job, finding just a community and a peer group and people to know. It wasn't until I began working with Santa Cruz Veterans Alliance and the Veterans Compassion program that my life began to greatly improve. Santa Cruz Veterans Alliance is the first and only community of its kind that gives veterans an alternative choice, and it also gives them a community to feel welcome. The VA only prescribes, heavy pharmaceuticals that honestly have only made our lives harder and worse. We're just trying to help ourselves and help our brothers and sisters in any way we can. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Carl Sigmund. I'm a member of the Veterans Alliance. I moved to Santa Cruz 2 years ago when I was accepted into senior housing after a long wait on the waiting list. I was served in the United States Navy in 1967 and 1968 in Vietnam service. I want to testify just to this group of people that I am very impressed with how they operate. I went to a presentation at the Rio Theater a few months ago where I became aware of this group. And I've been around for a while, I just realized it was 44 years ago when I first came to Santa Cruz in 1972, how impressed I was with the Cooper House, how impressed I was with the community. And I moved to Monterey about 20 years ago, and I was just living in a very much of a wasteland regarding progressive ideas. And you can feel this community is in the forefront of progressive ideas. This group that I became aware of is one of the most dedicated groups I've ever seen providing medicine to people in the community who benefit from it. We can come up with anecdotal evidence And you can come up with horror stories all over. But we can see how this movement is starting to come out of the shadows. That's what the Rio Theater meeting was about, that we don't have to try and hide behind, go through the legal practice, threaten ourselves. I knew people who went to jail, of course, when I was growing up in the 70s, and years for cannabis. Bottom line is, I just want to testify to this group. They are actually providing medicine at no cost to these veterans in this community. It's a organization that has given me an opportunity to meet fellow veterans and start to have a social life here. So I highly encourage you to take any action you can to help support this group and fast track them if that's what you're doing here. I stand to support them. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Good morning. My name is Trey Dimartino. I'm a disabled American veteran from the United States Navy. I injured myself after 12 years of service. The first thing they wanted to do was fill me up with opiates. And I hadn't used marijuana for over 26 years until 6 years ago. I met Aaron, one of the founders of the organization, at Cabrillo. I'm a full-time student, and I am homeless also. I was able to maintain medical marijuana rather than using these opiates and extremely addictive drugs that I've tried just about everything of. And I have saved workers' comp, which I am on, and disability tens of thousands of dollars. In the meantime, I've been to the Dominican over 100 times with pancreas. I've also got pancreatic. I'm sorry, I get a little nervous too. Pancreatic cancer, and it's been maintaining. The marijuana's been maintaining this for 6 years now. I can't say enough about the camaraderie that's shown through this organization. The Santa Cruz Veterans Alliance has been absolutely amazing with the camaraderie and the experiences that I've learned and been able to share with the other members. And I just want to say that nobody's out to make a profit. They're autonomous. I'm sure everybody's out to make a profit. It's a business, but they're autonomous in my feelings, and I think it should be kept that way. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good morning, Board. My name is Khalil Metallic, Director for the Kind People's Collective. I just would like to say, first of all, how touched I am, honestly, that all of these veterans have shown up today and given their testament to their experiences. It's very personal to me, the veterans in our country that are underserved, and I think this is one of the few ways that veterans can feel like our society is taking care of them and giving back to them. And at our collective, at Kind Peoples, we do our very best to serve veterans. We provide steep discounts for them. When the Veterans Alliance first got started, we offered our building up for them to have meetings and such. But we don't have the infrastructure set up in the same way that the Veterans Alliance does. So I just wanted to start with that to tell you that my testament here for the Veterans Alliance is much different. And really, I only have nothing to gain from it, only really to lose business, actually. I understand that we don't want to completely open the floodgates to more businesses and collectives in Santa Cruz, but I don't believe that we are doing that here. This is an organization providing a very unique offering to the community, and it actually complements and works symbiotically with other collectives, such as our collective, Kind Peoples. We oftentimes refer our patients to the Santa Cruz Veterans Alliance. Now, if this were just a simple black and white situation where a new average dispensary was attempting to jump on the bandwagon, I would not support it. If they were not providing any additional offerings or services, I would say no way. But again, I don't think this is the case. As stated in the last meeting this issue was heard, the Veterans Alliance has documentation as well as a parcel that has been in accordance with the current ordinance that we have. Looking at how the longest operating collectives in Santa Cruz have found their path to opening their doors, which has been very unofficial at best, maybe our collective excluded, that I think it makes good sense to allow a collective to open who has showed good faith in the way that they have. it seems as if we are attempting to close the doors for new collectives in the foreseeable future. So let's not make the mistake of closing the door in the face of an amazing organization affecting change in an already underserved population of our society, United States veterans. So thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Good morning, Board. The support that we get from the community is absolutely amazing, and I'm touched. The stories that you've heard from just a fraction of our veterans is the reason that we do what we do. And I hope we never have to.
Give me your name and...
I'm sorry, my name is Aaron Newsom. I'm the co-founder of the Santa Cruz Veterans Alliance. To second what my business partner Jason said, we've done extensive research on the new Medical Marijuana Regulation and Safety Act, and we believe that under the new state laws, if we do not have a storefront dispensary, we will not be able to donate medicine to our veterans, and our mission will be at serious risk. What will need to be done is, as a cultivator, the medicine will then, after cultivated, it will need to be tracked and traced, which we are fine with and do already. Then it will need to be given to a transporter, to a distributor, then to a testing facility, back to the distributor, and then finally to the dispensary where it can be sold or donated to the end patient. We have over 350 members in our collective. I know Jason said 256, but we are actually upwards of 350 at this time, and it's growing at a rapid pace. We would love to have the opportunity to serve the local community as well as our veterans. But again, however, due to the state laws, without being given a Phase 1 dispensary license, our mission will be at serious risk. We believe that being pushed to pursue a Phase 2 dispensary license will create a significant hardship because we'll have to find a new location due to residential setbacks, just like a majority of the other dispensaries currently operating. This will put our organization, our mission, and our veterans at risk of being a forgotten population once again. We hope that Santa Cruz County will continue to support us and our veterans and be the home that will allow us the legitimacy we need to continue our mission. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, Pat Melo, lifetime county resident, medical cannabis patient. What I'd like to say in regards to the Vets Alliance and this whole dispensary situation that we have is because of how the legalities and just the history played out, we actually grandfathered in my terms, a lot of dispensaries that didn't necessarily have the best community benefit possible. And so we've kind of, said that these group of dispensaries have the blessing of operating here, and so they are kind of operating as a part of the county apparatus because there's only so many of them allowed. And it's sad to see organizations that have real community benefit turned away because of how history played out, and there were 12 or 10 people who may or may not have obeyed the current law who got given the opportunity to have one of these dispensaries in town or in the county, and it's hard because a lot of those dispensaries do a great job. A lot of them give away a ton of medicine, but some of them don't, and we don't have the 12 best. We just have the 12 we were stuck with. And so to close the door on the Vets Alliance, something who offers a different kind of service, like you guys have said, than the other dispensaries, is hard for me to accept. And I hope that when we do reopen this, Phase 2 or whatever of the dispensary ordinance, will go for real community benefit first and foremost. Ryan Coonerty has spoken about giving precedence to, disadvantaged groups, and I think that's wonderful, and I think we should take that a step further and give that just to community benefit. I think that we should open to the idea of real worker-run cooperatives being given priority as well, and really shift and be an example for how we can choose what other businesses we endorse in this county. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, supervisors and members of the public. My name is Nikolai, 305 2nd Street, Watsonville, and I was a C4 member. And I got to say, throughout my years of political involvement, I have two bad habits. I usually get involved in lost causes or interesting causes. This is an interesting cause. It's something that I knew absolutely nothing about getting into C4, and I've become fascinated with the issue. I'm a non-user. I have no involvement in the industry whatsoever, so that rules that monetary aspect out for me, or using aspect. I have a letter for you. It's really just dealing with some minor issues that I think need to be corrected in the ordinance, and hopefully I didn't make a mistake because I typed it very fast this morning. They're just minor issues, which I don't think it's something too major. I think staff could easily address it, but I think it needs to be addressed in the ordinance. As far as the meat of the ordinance, I think what you have there is a very strong ordinance. If someone is a bad operator, they are not going to last. They will get wiped out because there's a renewal process. There's a termination process. You can wipe them out. Bad apples are not going to last in this game, and that's going to apply with cultivation, transportation, manufacturing, distributing, the whole aspect. This is a game change going on at the state level and probably national level and county level, where bad apples will get flushed out. With that being said, and I hate to do this because I don't want to jinx Santa Cruz Veterans Alliance with me endorsing them, but I think you should add them to the list. They are doing something that I don't know if anyone else in the entire country is doing. It's dramatic, and I've been looking at this. I got to meet them during C4 meetings. I thought, whatever, just some kind of deal where they're trying to get into that thing, into the game. But I don't believe that. In fact, I firmly believe that what it is they're doing something that is historic. The entire country is going to change. The Veterans Administration is going to change. They have no choice. The deal of just dumping these weird, strange psychotropic drugs into the returning soldiers is a failure. This is an opportunity beyond belief. So I see these signs, keep Santa Cruz weird or something like that. I'd rather say keep Santa Cruz ahead of everyone else in the entire country and approve Santa Cruz Veteran Alliance as a level 1 dispensary. If you're wrong, if I'm wrong, if you add them to the list, if you're wrong on it, what do you lose? If they're a bad apple, your ordinance will wipe them out and they'll lose their dispensary license. But if I'm right, and if you're right in approving them, and if what they're doing is right, you have been at the forefront of history in the entire country. So I urge you to add them as a level 1 dispensary. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Bryce. I'm the founder of California Agricultural Association, one of the dispensaries on the list. The reason I came here today primarily was to just tell you thank you. It's been a long road, and we're really grateful that we finally are having the opportunity to be licensed. As you guys are aware, under the new state law, state licensing is imperative upon local licensing, and much of my job the last year has become to be more active in the political process. So I sit on 2 committees with the largest cannabis industry groups in the state. One is the California Cannabis Industry Association and also the California Growers Association. So I spend several hours of my week on calls talking about policy and regulation. And it is absolutely imperative for businesses to have local licensing first. This speaks so much more to the fact why it is important for you guys to not kick the can down the road for the Santa Cruz Vets Alliance. There are some of the 13 dispensaries on the list that are only on there because of their sheer tenacity and non-compliance with what the county wanted at the time, where they weren't in compliance with the ordinance, but they had the right zoning, and they stayed open anyway, and you chose not to shut them down, and now they're grandfathered in. And you have a group that is providing a phenomenal service to our community, that is helping people, that meets all of the requirements, and they decided to wait it out and do it right and follow the process, and now potentially are being punished for it. The dispensary owners a couple months ago, I think 12 of the 13 of the operators in the county met. The Veterans Alliance was there. It was news to most of them that they potentially were going to get a dispensary. Not a single one of those businesses were upset or reached out or got frustrated about it, even though it's in none of our interests as a business for another business to open, because it takes our profit and potentially our customers away. But what you'll find is the majority of us are in it for the patients first. And these guys have patients that they can connect with because they're from a culture. They have a background. They provide a service through horticultural therapy. They provide a great service that is an example across the country now. And if you have had the opportunity to see what these guys do, Jason and Aaron have been incredibly politically active, both on the local level and beyond. They've sacrificed tons of their time on the C4 committee trying to help us get good policy. Aaron's spending time on the Watsonville Task Force trying to help shape good policy. These are guys you don't want to turn your back to. And kicking the can down the road, unfortunately, is going to make it really hard for a bootstrapped organization to try to stay competitive in the long run. And they're in it for good reason. So as a competitor of theirs, I'm telling you, it would be a really shame for us to not allow them to open. As a cannabis advocate, I have the most respect for these guys and what they're trying to do. And we work with them closely with our collective, and they work with our patients, and we are just... they're a shining example of what we want in this county. So thank you for moving towards licensing. We really respect it. And with that, I would advocate that you listen to everybody that came up here and support these guys into doing what they do. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else would like to address us on this?
Hi, my name is Leticia Miller. I wasn't here for this particular item, but after listening to all the vets that came up, my husband was a vet from the Korean War. And after he got out, there were major problems. He was disabled. And we did go to the veterans. And at that time, they didn't pay too much attention to our veterans. So for years, my husband was taking Vicodin and Ambien and getting them from local doctors. Well, they survived, but finally we did go back to the veterans, who are very, very active now. And they did help him. And he didn't take marijuana, but he continued on the Vicodin and the Ambien because he was totally addicted. So if there's something out there that you can do, I think you should pass it, maybe for the veterans. I'm kind of torn because I have also a 15-year-old grandson, and it is by the schools. I think you have to be very careful how you give your licenses. I think you have to be sure they're not by schools, not where children play on parks. But then the veterans do need this help, and I'm here to support the veterans. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to